Thank you very much for that expanded biography. I think I only submitted half of that. It's been a long time, so it seems like I've done a lot, but actually, that's a span of how many years? So don't be too impressed. I mean, um, and so I would like to formally thank Secretary Klink for inviting me to do this presentation, and also Yusek Garcia, and of course, Yusek Borja, sorry, and Director Garcia. And so don't worry, I'm not going to talk about all these things that you mentioned. I will only focus on three things. So as you can see, okay, let me, yeah, cultural and natural. So as Director Garcia's mentioned, I really, if you want to ask me about my passions, it would be cultural and natural history preservation. And so I'd like to tell you a little bit about my work there and its journeys because hindi pa tapos. You know, I've started a lot of this, continue some have ended, but I consider that to be my life's work until I can no longer move around. As you'll see, I've been moving around quite a bit. And also, it's not text heavy, my presentation, because I just want to show you more of the images that I've seen, you know, the people I've met, the places I've been to. I think you would find that more interesting than a lot of, you know, like a lecture. This isn't a lecture. I really would like to inspire you as well, you know, in the preservation of the wealth that we have in nature and also our cultural heritage. Of course, you know, I'm talking as a Philam, so you're much more conversant in this than I am. But maybe this is, you know, a different view. And I would also like to, again, introduce my teammate in the Batanes project, Noli Gabilo, who is a master photographer. In his own right, he has, you know, a great following. He has helped me. He has really introduced me to Batanes, and it's his images, I think, that will convince you just how beautiful Batanes is. All right. So, and I understand there's a Q&A after. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask it then. Or if you feel compelled during my, you know, presentation, just, you know, we're easy here. Usapang pamilya to. So, okay. Um, so the first one is I will first talk about, let me see, the ethnoastronomy project that I received a grant for from the National Commission on Culture and the Arts. And you can see updates on that website, firstskies.com. It's called First Skies Revisiting Ethnoastronomy in Batanes. And these are all images taken by Nodi. And as you can see, there's the Milky Way, right? And then there's a view of Batanes to show you just, give you a cityscape of what it looks like. And then, of course, stars. So I was inspired to do, why ethnoastronomy? What is ethnoastronomy? Basically, it's how indigenous communities use the celestial sky, objects in the celestial sky, the stars, the moon, clouds, and I found during while conducting this study, I just came back from Batanes. I spent, let's see, February 25 to March 11 there, and I went to all these villages and I talked to the people there, and it's really surprising what I found. And I will share that on the website, but I will give you a glimpse of what I learned there. And I just fell in love with Batanes and the Ivatan people. So uh, I was inspired to do ethnoastronomy by the work of Dante Ambrosio. he's the father of ethnoastronomy in the Philippines. And when I got interested in his work, I first went to Tawi-Tawi, actually, because that's where most of his work was. He passed away in 2011. And so I looked for one person there to tell me about the night sky. And I learned so much that I said, oh, dapat maging project to. I mean, a bigger project. And so I thought, okay, I've been to the South. I go to the South a lot, Tawi-Tawi especially. Where should I go next? So I said, Batanes, because they're one of the best stargazing places in the Philippines. So I applied for an NCCA grant and received it, and found out about how astronomy is used in Batanes. Now, and please correct me if I say anything wrong, because Noli is Ivatan, and I feel like I can't appropriate his culture. He's the expert here, but in Batanes you have to have Ivatan lineage, right? You have to be a member of the community to actually own property there. So for me to talk to anybody in Batanes, I had to go through NCIP, the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples. Unlike, let's say, Mapun, where I went, or other parts of Tawi-Tawi, I could, not all of them are Tausug or Jama Mapun or Bajau, right? And I've been to all those communities. And so I had to differentiate among the communities there. But in Batanes, everybody I spoke to was Ivatan, which made things a little easier. Now, in Batanes, the people are either farmers or fishermen. Or actually, they're both, right, Nori? They're both. Because when they're not fishing, when it's not fishing season, then they farm. Do all of them have land? Are the Ivitans all? Yeah, they all have land there that they can, that they can raise cattle in, that they can farm, and you can see already just how beautiful it is, right? In this certain, let me see, occasion, they are about to plant ube, ube. Yeah, white or purple, white. Yeah, so there are two varieties, white and purple. In the middle is a woman, Miss Anne, who's wearing the vakul made from the vuya palm. And their root crops are sweet potato, gabi, cassava. Garlic is a cash crop for them, right? You have a lot of garlic. Bananas, but that was sort of decimated by the 3 typhoons they had last year. And then sugarcane, which they make sweet wine out of. And I guess that's it for farming. And as you can see, so they were here, they're measuring, they're about to plant the ube, but then afterwards, everybody who's there, including us, they feed. Every place I go to, there's always somebody cooking for everybody who's there. In fact, they invite their neighbors and friends to come plant with them, and they feed them. And that's one thing I really discovered about the Ivatan is their spirit of bayanihan. It's not just a word for them. Here we say bayanihan, but they're really everybody. They work together. They depend on each other because Batanes is so remote from the rest of the Philippines. All of their food, most of their food is shipped from the mainland. So you can see rice is very expensive there, almost everything. And especially because of the weather, so they have to really depend on each other. There's a basket that she's holding, and that's where she puts the root crops, right? For planting. Yes. And there's a belief that you can't let that basket roll or a landslide will occur. One of my respondents said that. So, by the way, they're predominantly Catholic, right? But they do have some beliefs, just like all of us do. But they are almost 90% Catholic. Would you say that? So uh, let me go on to the next slide. So the fisherman, and Noli is a fisherman as well. So he can tell you a lot more about that. But I went to two islands, Basco and Sabtang. There are three main islands, including Itbayat. I didn't go there because it's hard to get to. You have to fly. It's closest to Taiwan. And when I saw pictures of putting them in cages just to bring them over to the from the ship to the land, I said maybe not. But I hope to visit next time. The people in Itbayat are actually ethno-linguistically distinct. They have their own language from the rest of Batanes. So here you can see the wave-cut cliffs, very strong winds and currents. They fish for tibang, flying fish, dorado, arayu, or mahi-mahi. And I'll tell you about the ritual that I attended to open the fishing season. They do spear fishing, fishing with nets, hook and line. They believe that it's best to fish in the first quarter when the current is not too strong, and that's good for fishing. And again, I'm just summarizing things because I haven't processed all the data yet, but also I just want to give you a glimpse. So it's a very rugged terrain, as you can see. All right. So going through traditional knowledge and practices, I was privileged to attend this ritual. It's either breaking the port or making the port. The 𝐏𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐴N, yeah, cleansing, yeah. Oh, okay. Um, Continue. In Mahatao, Batanes. So basically, this was a ritual at the beginning of the fishing season for Dorado in this fishing village. And it's the most well-known ritual. So what they do is at the break of dawn, oh no, even before the break of dawn at like 4 o'clock in the morning. So you can see the first picture there. So we gathered, and this is open to the public in case you want to go there in March, but you have to be sort of invited. You can't just really go there and take pictures like a tourist. What it involves is they sacrifice a pig, a male pig, and inspect the liver and the gallbladder to see whether any fisherman will die, if there will be any deaths in the fishing, and also how abundant their catch will be. So after slaughtering the pig, they cut off one leg and drag it along the shore, as you can see, spilling the blood over the rocks, the entire length where the fisherman will cast off. And some people call him the shaman, but he doesn't like to be called that. He said tagagawa ng ritual daw siya. So the tagagawa ng ritual invokes a prayer to the sea, asking permission to start fishing. And that happens about dawn. And then they feed everybody. So there were two pigs slaughtered. So everybody there, and there were a lot of people there. And I took a lot of pictures. We took a lot of pictures, but I really do not want to show for this purpose how they kill the pig and all that. But I have other pictures. where here you see the tagagawa ng ritual in blue, inspecting the gallbladder and the liver. I mean, yeah, the gallbladder and the liver. And then on the upper right side is me sharing. They put food, they serve food in breadfruit leaves. You know what? It's so cool because you can fold that over and then bring it as baon. Really, it's huge and it will not leak. So that's the traditional way of serving food. And so there's a community of fishermen. Actually, there's an association, and there are about 40 plus fishermen in this village. And each person, each family, has to donate their share to this ritual. But the breadfruit leaves, wood for the fire, and canned, no, what you call the soup cups as well, because they will use that for feeding everybody. And so there I am partaking with my very able team member, Yuan. And as a gift, we donated, what's that, a box of gin? Yeah, because they like to drink. I mean, wouldn't you if you lived in such a remote place? But no, and then actually, while I was observing, one of the fishermen went around with a half shell of coconut, something in it. And I was trying to hide because I knew now that that was something to drink, right? And then he saw me and he said, "Ma'am," he asked me to take a sip. And so there I was, dilemma, right? I mean, I'm there, I am observing. Do I sort of just decline and, act like I'm just an observer, or do I really participate in the ritual? So, what do you think I did? Yes, of course, as an anthropologist, I mean, you try to be apart from them and observe, but I wanted to participate. So, masarap, it was sweet wine. But at first it was dark, so I didn't even know what was in it, right? And they said, and I thought, is it not blood? But it's not. I asked what it was. So, and they asked me to do it twice, so I drank twice. But that's part of what you have to do, when you immerse yourself in a community is you're not just there to observe, I feel. You have to really get to know them. And I felt that drinking with them, because drinking is such a big part of their culture, really. You have to get sort of in the mood. And I think they will accept you more if you participate. And so I asked the tagagawa ng ritual what his forecast was. And he said, it's neither good nor bad, in between. So I said, have there been years where it's really bad or very good? And he said, yes. But this year, it's in between. So that's good news, I guess. Next one. So here I am with just giving you a glimpse of my visits with culture bearers. I am on the left with one of my photographers, Ivan, and the person in the middle is the head of the Fishermen's Association, Junjun. Yes, and that's his house. So they welcomed us into their homes. And they served fried ube, which is like potato chips, very, very good. And there I was asking permission to attend the Kapay Vanwa. And then the next picture in the middle was the day after the ritual. And I just asked them about more practices and I thanked them and I gave a donation as well. And those are the fishermen. They were about ready to take a meal. So you can see that there's caldero there. And then the one on the right, Mang Aniceto, he demonstrated how to blow from the conch shell. And there are three there are three purposes for this. One, and this is gathered from there was three different respondents. So in agriculture, if they need help with planting, then they blow that, and then their neighbors, friends come and help. And then someone said, or for fishing, the one with a conch shell is on top of a hill, a higher elevation, and can see where the schools of fish are. And so he calls people to come and he points out where the fish are so that they can go down and fish there. That's, one of the respondents. And then another one said, and when it's time for inuman also, they blow this. And she told the story of, was it you who told the story where somebody was called and she came, she thought, it was a party and it turned out it was to work on the fields. So, it's, I was told there's a parang code, like a series of how you blow it. And when he blew it, you can really tell malayo yung the reach, especially if it's you go with the wind. So yeah, they used to practice that. I don't know if they do it anymore because now they have apps, right? So if you have any questions, please just while it's in front of you, please feel free. And Noli brought me to his village to meet with his relatives who are fishermen and farmers as well. And there's his auntie talking to him about her practices in the field. How old is she? She's 80 and she still goes out. In fact, we waited for her. She was out in the field. She's 80 years old and still, working out in the field. 82. And then the middle picture, hat maker. And he made a special hat for me. I don't have a picture here. But so he said he would make a hat for me. And then I came back after almost a week because it was impossible to cross over to Sabtang. And I thought, baka wala na doon. He probably sold it to somebody else because his hats are in demand. And then when I came there, he said, yeah, somebody wanted to buy it, but I knew you would come back. That was so sweet. Parang he could have sold it. But he believed that I would come back. So I'm glad I did. And then on the right is Noli's uncle talking about his fishing implements. And he invited me to go fishing next time I'm in Batanes. So in June, yeah. So they're very hospitable. And really, I think if you show that you really want to get to know their culture and get immersed in it, they are much more welcoming. And so here I just want to show you people that I've collaborated with. Everything's teamwork. Of course, I would not have been able to accomplish even a third of what I did without the help of the NCIP. Oh, I didn't talk about the Council of Elders. So before I even started this project, I had to go to Batanes to ask permission from the Council of Elders. And these are representatives of the Ivatan community from all the municipalities. So they came and met by Zoom, and I explained my project, and they gave me unanimous consent. But they had some requirements. They said you have to get the terms right. You have to get the language right, because even among municipalities, there are differences. And especially with Itbayat, where it's almost a different language. It has to be for education. So I told them, okay, I will publish a children's book if I can. And then the third one was, well, they wanted to see the report before I submitted to the NCCA. So I will do that hopefully in June. So the GSO, the General Services Office, Ed Delphin was instrumental in making arrangements. On the top right is the bed and breakfast where I stayed. There's the owners there along with my team. Sorry, there. So, um, yeah, so I have the other photographers there. Actually, all three photographers are present there. I had three photographers at different times, but Naughty stayed most of the time. And then we had Miss Anne, who was, aside from an NCCA culture bearer, she also sang or recited Laji, which is their poetry. Their poetry is sung. And what impressed me was walang notes. So it has to be really here in the memory. Especially imagine kung dalawa kayong kakanta in unison. How can you sing without notes, right? But so I guess it's here. And then we were on the way to Sabtang in the other one, so we were wearing life vests. And then switching to the US, so I'm a research associate at the Field Museum of Natural History, where there are 10,000 Philippine objects, mostly from the Cordillera region and southern Philippines. All but 20 are in storage. So only 20 are on display. And even then, we don't have our own Philippine exhibit at the Field Museum. The 20 objects on display are part of the China exhibit, our relationship with China, the trade. So it's really sad that these cultural objects, which were collected by anthropologists between 1907 and 1912, many of which are no longer found even here, because during the war, the museums were destroyed. So a lot of them are in storage, like the one far right. This is a whole room, just shelf after shelf of Philippine things. And the only way you can see this is if I bring you into the vaults, or we have a portal now, digital portal, which has 80% of the objects. But even then, those included in the objects, the descriptions are not right. I mean, anybody, any of you, and I can give you the link later, can go onto the portal and write something about the objects, and you will see yung iba walang description at all, just the anthropologist's really basic description. And they have misclassified so many of these objects. And I will just share one story because I think it's really important. There was one blouse. So different groups come to visit this. I bring different groups to the vaults. In this case, you see the PTRI, Philippine Textile Research Institute, and then the Manobo. Manobo ba yan? They were so moved by what they saw, the chief took off his headscarf and donated it to the museum. And he said, this headscarf you can only wear if you have successfully negotiated a peace agreement. So imagine something that valuable, he donated it to the museum because he was so moved by what he saw. So there's a picture of him explaining what the design was. And then on the far right, the former Consul General of Chicago. In the middle, they're just looking at the stacks. And the 20% that are not in the portal, digital portal, are textiles. And they are the most unique, beautiful textiles that Director Barnes of the National Museum has seen, for example. He said this is one of the best textiles. This is the biggest collection of ethnographic materials in the Western Hemisphere. And they're all in storage. And so it has been one of for 10 or more years, I've been trying to get them to digitize it. unsuccessfully. Malapit na, almost. Okay, so um, let's see. So I've brought many groups there. Um, and in the bottom right is Dr. Larry Haney, who is an award-winning mammal specialist of mammals in the Philippines. So he received an award for all the discoveries that he of species, mammal species in the Philippines. So actually, the Field Museum has two very good collections. It's the Cultural Ethnographic Collection and the Natural Science. So that's what I have for the ethnographic collections. The And I just want to add one more thing. In 2016, I received a grant from the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation with additional support from the Field Museum, which was a project, an artistic exchange between artists in the Philippines and in the US. And it was called Art and Anthropology, Portrait of the Object as Filipino, where artists, five Filipino artists and five Phil-Am artists collaborated on two large-size murals. One of them is here at the Film Museum. The other one is in Quezon City, One Arts Foundation. And each artist also came up with their own work. So using our artifacts as inspiration. And you can tell that, okay, the right side of the mural, it's not really a mural, but I like to call it that because it's so big, it's 8 by 20 feet, was the one done by Philippine artists, the one on the left, Phil-Am artists. And ang galing talaga ng mga artists natin dito. I mean, when they were, so they created it in the Field Museum. And siguro after 2 days, tapos na sila, yung mga Philippine artists. And you can tell. So, I'll tell you who the artists are later. Pero parang after 2 years, they said, 2 days, tapos na sila. So naglakwatsa na lang sila while the film artists were still doing their work. So ang gagaling talaga. And you can tell the level of sophistication is also different. So I was really honored to meet them. And this was also a unique, innovative project. Philanthropy.org wrote a review of it saying, we should use this model. And it was also published in an international journal by a European international journal. So it received some recognition, this model of artistic exchange. So these are the artists. You might know some of them here: Manny Garibay, si Otoneri, Junim Paz, Leonard Aguinaldo from Baguio, and Jason Moss. So they came to the US where they created this. And I just want to read, or actually, I can't read it, where it says, I say that, these objects are animated by the stories that we attach to them. So they may just be mute to other people, but they're not, because they have their own personal narratives and stories. So, how's the pace? Am I doing okay? Yeah. Okay, as far as biodiversity, this is the book published by Anvil in 2016, the one that was mentioned, which was a finalist in science, even as a children's book. That's why I'm particularly proud of it, because yung dalawang kalaban ko were academic books, one by the Ateneo Press and the other one by UP. And then here's my little children's book. But but I also want to give credit to those collaborators who helped me. Again, this was a collaborative team effort. It was first supposed to be published by the National Museum. They said, sige, we'll use National Museum scientists and we'll publish the book and give it out to our special VIP guests. And I said, that's not the vision I had for the book. So Anvil took it up and I had to go to scientists themselves to ask for pictures because then I could no longer use National Museum material. So I attended their conferences and I sent out a plea. I said, I can't afford to pay you for your images, but this book will receive wide circulation. And so generously, scientists donated their own pictures, their own discoveries. Like, for example, the California Academy of Sciences, a scientist there donated his image of a spawning starfish. Never seen it anywhere else. And then the one who discovered the laughing cicada, he said, sige, here's my picture when I discovered the laughing cicada. So the pictures you will see, and I will donate a book here when I get another one. The pictures there are all from the scientists themselves. So just imagine the authenticity there. I'm so grateful that they agreed to be part of this project. And since then, I have talked on it at, in this case, San Francisco. It was launched in Calapan, Mindoro. So you have, the people in white. Those are Larry Haney also contributed to that. And then just recently in the Españols, the bottom picture, I gave a talk on science writing. So I continue to talk about, well, biodiversity and how to write for science. The bottom picture was actually sponsored. This talk was sponsored by ASEAN, the Asian Biodiversity Council. They have a council in ASEAN, in Los Baños. As part of the promotion for that book, I have done countless school visits, which I enjoy. I really enjoy talking to children about science and writing, and their questions are just so inspiring and amazing. The questions they ask just are so inventive. So I'm really encouraged by that. On the right, well, the former Prime Minister of Canada, actually had a, see, Trudeau, you recognize him, right? My sister-in-law said, put a book in front of him and took a picture. And then I've also talked in Ateneo. That's the one in the bottom right. So that's my biodiversity work, some of it. Let me go on to what I call art plus nature plus culture. I am currently president of the Hinabi project, which is a nonprofit based in San Francisco, whose advocacy is promoting Philippine textiles, natural textiles, woven textiles, embellishments. So we're probably the only organization in the US that does this. So we commission a lot of panels, master weavers, the best of the best. The collectors also collect a number of antique and vintage pieces, like in their collection, a piña top of the sister of Jose Rizal is there in their collection. They managed to get that. I don't know how. But so malaki yung collection nila, and they hold exhibits from weavers from all over the US. As you can see, So I and whoever's in the Philippines at the time, we go out to all these communities. We go direct to the weavers. And ako, as an anthropologist, of course, I listen to their stories and we buy from them directly to make sure that they have a fair wage. We will not accept anything that's not natural material. No polyester. So everything really is natural dyes, natural material. And we had a fundraising last year, and that's what I wore. And I show this because I want to talk about the sleeves. Do you mind if I tell a little story about how I got that sleeve? Because for me, it's the stories that really make my work interesting, that really inspire me. So I went to this weaver in 𝐿𝐴𝐺𝐻, Iloilo, and I've been going to her for weaves for many years. And so first, bahay, sa bahay niya, no? So she goes there. And I say, oh sige, nasan yung mga cotton nyo, ganon. So she, one by one, dinalabas niya, no? And the more confident she became, more comfortable with me, the more dinalabas niya yung mga mas, mas maganda na tela. And until finally, I said, oh sige, ito na, I'm satisfied with these. And then she brought out this really special tela. And konti lang, it's not very big. And I said, my God, ang dami ko nang nabili. And so I said, I can't afford to buy anymore. And she said, hindi, bigay ko to sa'yo. So she donated one of her most special pieces to me. So I had to use it for the Terno de Mayo that we had. And of course, told her story. And so, although it's not, what I'm wearing is not as fancy as, the others that you see, di ba? Ang gaganda ng mga terno natin and our native wear. I wanted to highlight the sleeves because that was my connection, personal connection to a weaver. And the one on the left is just a demonstration of what they call resist dyeing for tinalak. And that was in Davao. At that time, I collaborated with the Department of Tourism. So they brought me to this really remote village. And that's how I got to meet the weavers. And I will just show you. Oh, not yet. Yan. It's just some of the weaves that I have personally seen. The one on the left, okay, that's another story. Sorry, yeah. But the one on the left and the one in the bottom. So I visited this weaver who was the apprentice of one of the master weavers. And so again, she showed us weaves that she made. Pinakain pa kami. And then finally she said, I have something from my ancestor that's really old. And so we said, can we see it? Di niya linabas eh. And she thought for a while and she said, sige. So she went inside her house. She was gone for mga 20 minutes. And we're going, why is it taking so long? And finally she brought it out. And one of them said, alam mo, she asked permission from her ancestors who made that cloth, the one on the far, with the black and white pattern with a triangle, far left. Most likely she asked permission to show it to us. So hindi lang niya linabas. So that's, these stories, for me, I would not have known, their connection to the past is still very present, very much a part of their lives, that they can't just show us the works of their ancestors. They have to ask permission from the ancestors. And when I looked at it, I said, oh my God, talaga, ang ganda-ganda. The work and all that. And this was actually worn by her ancestor. It was a wrap. So that's another story. And then on the right, that's a Mangyan uh, weaver. And she put her, hindi baybayin yan eh. That's the Hanuno Mangyan script. So it's different from baybayin. And that's, I think this one is a psalm. Yeah. So I went all the way to the bundok of Manansalay in Oriental Mindoro to meet her. And then lately, this visit, we went to visit another master weaver, India, of Pinya in a clan where we met the mayor, and we have a project with them. And on the far right, the Hinabi project is also a member of Habi in the Philippines, where there are really dedicated advocates of national weaving, one of whom is Irene Marcos Araneta. She was at that meeting that we attended. And just to give you an idea of how hard it is to get to where I've been, so there's a Bajau village in Tawi-Tawi. And then I went on an expedition for humpback whale research in the Babuyan Islands. And of course, I went to see the whale sharks in, is this, yeah, Cebu, where they feed. They feed, yeah. And because I was, not sure whether it was a good idea or not, feeding whale sharks, but boosting tourism, local tourism. So I went to see for myself. Personally, I don't approve of it, but then it boosted the local economy. So I think, yeah, there are benefits and disadvantages as well. And then the far right is I joined an expedition to look for the slow loris in outside in Tawi Tawi because one was spotted in this jungle, and so you could only see it at night. So there I am at night, where there were many other creatures I did not like. Getting there, some of the transportation that I've ridden in. Noli, this is your picture, right? The one on the orange. Is that yours? Your image? Yeah. So I think that's Sabtang or that's Basco. And then there's, the tricycle. The one on the top right, I wrote a lancha from Bongao, Tawi-Tawi to one of the islands, Sibutu. And you can see the malong there has many uses. There was a baby inside the malong and that tilted the boat because maalon. On the bottom right is our recent trip to Sabtang, actually going back where one of my co-passengers was a pig. And there you see the pig being hauled. The pig was well behaved during that trip, but I stayed on the other side of the boat. And then on the right, that's the bottom of Mount Iraya, right? The two of us, Nori, where we saw the boat-shaped graves. Hindi ko na nasama dito. But they have graves in the shape where the stones are arranged in the shape of a boat. So they were thinking maybe Viking influence yun, or it's a mystery. But it was a long walk, so you can see pawis na pawis ako. And then on the right is just one of the other vehicles I've ridden. Okay, challenges, which there are many. So usually I go to remote places because this is where the the biodiverse habitats are. These are the ones where you find these unique species, and where the habitats are in danger of being lost to mining, to forestation, to agricultural, like commercial agriculture. And so I would go with these teams. So usually I would have to take public transport, like in Bongao. when I rode the lancha, it was just a narrow plank, mga ganito, from here to there. Let's say that's the top of the boat, and it's here, and I look down, and there's garbage in the water. So if I fall, then I fall into that. My ano pa ako ha, my backpack pa ako. So at wala pang ano handrail, so I had to ask one of the people there to carry my backpack. But you know, I was younger and more confident. Um, Language barrier. So I always have an interpreter if I go to a place where I don't speak the local language, which is all of them. I'm not even really comfortable in Tagalog, especially if it's deep Tagalog. Then unfamiliar food. There was a time when I was in Tawi-Tawi. I was about to leave for the U.S., so I didn't want to eat just anything that they sold, by the side of the road. So I just ate crackers and Coke for like a week because I know I was traveling. Um, and then sometimes the only female in the group, actually, just often, as you can see, the upper right side, when we went looking for the slow loris, I was the only female there. More pictures of the remote places I've been to, and especially in the south, there's a strong military presence. Another cuento. So when I was going from Bongao to one of the islands, I rode the lancha, and then I came back and went home to Quezon City. And then I read in the papers that the next week, the very route that I followed, there was an attack by Indonesian pirates. And so if I had postponed my trip by 1 week, I would have been in the attack. And it's so funny because my son, he read about it in the New York Times. And so he called the house and said, is mom still in, is mom still in the South? And my parents didn't even know I was in the South. So sometimes I shield them from some of the things I do. But yeah, the NPA, Abu Sayyaf, and Indonesian pirates. So I'm almost to the end. But as part of the creative writing, which is actually, what I received the award for, if I may, if you will indulge me, can I read just a short poem that I wrote about this guy I met in Mapun, because he was the one who inspired me to do ethnoastronomy. And this photo was taken by Ivan Serenas. So those who don't like poetry, sorry na lang. Okay. First skies. Waning moon in Mapun, starlight in an elder's eyes, I can only surrender to such beauty. Riding angkas on a motorcycle, he now lies still on a straw mat, spread out on a runway, chewed flat by cows. Following the moon, I gaze, clusters of light, named by a guardian who has witnessed much more than 99 nights. Smile incandescent as his shirt, as stars, he traces a constellation, fingers bent from husking coconuts, voice tremulous as the wind. Were it not easy to rid bad luck by throwing water at a setting sun, or to read the sweep of the sky like an almanac, we would be lost. I am but a hollow mouthpiece to secrets. Batik bintanggauk, tanggung mayayo mupu, bituin not star, putian not Milky Way. We sit as the earth spins, listening to our oldest stories, when land and sky were one, waiting for something or nothing to happen. Oh, thank you. Book of poetry coming up. And okay, as a finale, it's really the people I remember. I've met so many incredible, amazing people in my travels, like the lady, the Muslim lady, who I just couldn't resist. Her shirt says babae. I don't think you can see it. But so she's Muslim, and then I thought there was a cross in the right side, right? And then the middle, we ate. That's my team. When I go to Tawi Tawi, usually I'm with them. And then I went to Taganak, met these really incredible ladies. A special place for Miagao, Iloilo, where I started the marine preservation area project. I developed a livelihood program for discarded fishing nets, and those are my colleagues in the bottom. The one on the left, upper left, he has a little cart, serves the best squid ink pasta in all of Iloilo. And it's just a little cart. We always eat it by the sea. And then the lady on the right, she makes natural salt from the ocean. And she was so engaging. And then the US, my work has also been a product of collaborations with people in Louisiana. We're Manila Village. The first Filipino settlement is in Louisiana. And then in the middle, the California Academy of Sciences, who helped me promote the biodiversity book. And also Roberta Feliciano, the sister of oh, why am I missing out on her name? Uh, yeah. Anyway, it'll come to me. And then on the right, writers in San Francisco, you can see Crip Hughes on there and Sarge LaQuesta. We had a writing conference. We visit Apple Wang Ad. That's my son. And also the artists, Filipino artists in my house where I fed them when they came to Chicago. Okay, and people that have disappeared, not disappeared, who have gone on to the next life, whom I have had collaborations with. Danny Balete, one of the best natural scientists in the Philippines. Jun de Gia, the son of Kidlat Tahimik. I was supposed to do a documentary project with him. Christina Lakowski, who was a board member of the Hinabi Project. And in conclusion, this is a quote that has really inspired me uh, by Robert Browning. But man's reach must exceed his grasp, or what's heaven for? Diba? Okay, and that's a picture by Nolly and me using an app for the sky. Maraming salamat po.